Now hear this. You're listening to charlietrix, remise, and jhanboom. Yeah,
there it is.
Needed to reset that.
Yeah, that's clean.
It's all good.
Yes, y'all.
Back in the streets.
Feels good. We are back on record again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. This is the Fans Perspective. I am your host, charlietrix, and I'm here with my brother.
What's good, everybody? Remise.
And we got my man,
It's your boy jhanboom. What's poppin'?
John Busy Boom in the building. Of course, vamanonos, Lou is in the building.
Vamanonos.
Yes, happy Saturday, everybody. Here we are again, episode, 90?
90. We're going hard. No,
We've been going
pause.
steady. Here's another one for the books, going down.
Like a riverboat.
Actually, let me give you guys...
We'll be discussing riverboats.
I just about to jump right into topics and stuff. Yeah, how you guys feeling?
Yeah, yo, as you know, Saturday we do another one, 90th episode, TFP, the only way to be. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everyone who keeps peeping in. YouTube, Instagram, you know what I'm saying? I even put some on Snapchat. I love it. Everyone, social media platforms. Thank you. We back in the streets.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody that listens and, checks us out, shouts us out, gives us any type of feedback. We love all that shit. We appreciate you all.
Nudes as well.
Yeah, so this weekend is special. And
For sure.
For those who don't know what's going on, it is hip-hop's 50th anniversary. And we wanted to start off the show talking about that. I mean,
sure.
what an amazing thing, how far hip-hop has come. And, yeah, let's start the show with that, man.
Let's get it.
It's crazy how far, if you look back at early hip-hop and what it was like, and you go all the way to now, the biggest genre on the planet, it's like really crazy to see. And we, like you guys even more than me, but we got to see pretty much so much of the growth.
Word.
And to be a part of, witnessing it, partaking at times in
Word.
this culture that's super dope and now is
Yeah,
celebrated properly.
You know what's cool, where you can see it kind of all in one place, is there's a massive event going on at Yankee Stadium.
Whoa.
For the celebration of, the anniversary.
Okay.
And the list of artists performing from, the older generation.
Right on.
The Godfathers, some of the Godfathers came out.
Okay.
Nas came out, brought out Coogee Rap.
Oh, that's
all right.
sick.
Oh, sick
You
with
know,
it.
like, it was really like just generation from way back to way back to way back to, up to now. I saw a little bit of Red and Meth.
Okay.
Somebody was playing the clip.
Pioneers.
But yeah, it's just great to see all that together in one place. And just fantastic for me as a hip-hop fan. Johnny,
Yeah.
what do you think about?
Yo, I love hip-hop. You know what I'm saying? I was introduced to hip-hop in the more, I'm going to say, 94, 96 era. You know what I'm saying? I know there was a whole, history prior to that, but that's when I was introduced to it. And I immediately became a major fan of the culture and the music, coming in from Dominican Republic to New York City when, during those years, it was prime time hip hop in the East Coast popping off. So, I remember the Biggies, you know what I'm saying? I remember the Redman, the LL Cool J's. To me, honestly, LL Cool J defined hip hop in a way that made me really love it and enjoy it, from coolness to swag to the way he dressed. LL Cool J, one of the top pioneers of the game, you know what I'm saying, doing his thing. The one leg, he just completely changed it. So yeah, 94 to 96, I was introduced. To be honest with you, man, I was, besides hip-hop artists essentially that are rappers, shout out to like people like Puff Daddy, man, great producers, you know what I'm saying, Jermaine Dupri. I remember when they had a little face-off before Versus, nobody knows about that, but I was around for that. But yeah, man, hip-hop is ain't nothing to it but to do. Everyone taking a little bit of hip-hop. Look at me, man, I'm a rapper on the low.
You working on a new album?
Hey, 6 songs and that's it.
That's
plus 2 bonus tracks.
2.
All right. That sounds almost a full album right
It does,
there.
but it's not.
Yeah, but anyway, man, so shout out to everybody that's involved in hip-hop, especially some of the old school dudes that I
Hell
really
yeah.
look up to. KRS-One, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane.
Oh, Big Daddy Kane.
Yes, sir.
You know, specifically when I like mention those three, I like to see them still active today,
Right on.
and successful and doing their thing. You know, it's great.
For sure.
I watched Big Daddy Kane performing live, and he's just so fantastic. You know, same for Rakim.
Word.
Still just killing it, just
Killing the
amazing. And you know, you can't speak enough about KRS. Forget it. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
just teaching
Teacher.
all over. You know, spreading as much knowledge and just still killing it on the mic. You know.
And I do want to jump in and just mention that when we talk about hip hop, sometimes the rest of the elements don't get their propers just because the music has taken off so much. And I just want to shout out like breakers of all time. Crazy Legs is around. I grew up on Turbo and Ozone and
let's go.
Breaking.
See,
Rocksteady Crew.
You know what I mean?
Rocksteady Crew.
Yeah. I wasn't around for that yet. I was still out there in Holland trying to make it over here.
Word, yeah. Citizen Boom, man.
Citizen Boom.
Citizen Boom.
But yeah, so breaking, graffiti, DJing, these are all pivotal aspects of hip hop as a culture. Early hip hop media, you'll see them all merge a lot more, you know, like they're all the focus of things like Beat Street and like those types of movies. So I just do think we should also shout that out. It's 50 years of hip hop, the whole.
Yeah.
hip hop
The
as a
whole
culture,
shebang.
you know.
Universal.
And that's the thing. I think Kara said it best. You know,
Right.
rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you live. And you know, that's like you said. There's the other elements we can't forget. Shout out to Crazy Legs.
Whoa.
I follow him on Instagram, and you know, I constantly see him doing things. So, like I said, it's great to see these like forefathers in the game.
Yeah.
Still just rapping hard, you know,
Streets.
and
Yep.
smiling, you know, happy.
Sit in the game
You
for
can
sure,
still
you
see
know?
a lot of the originators and a lot of the people who set us on the paths
Yeah.
that hip hop has taken to this day. You can still meet some of them, shake their hands, and have discussions about what it was like when it all was just beginning to pop off.
Yeah, and speaking of hip hop, just because I knew we were going to have this conversation, I just looked up some of the albums that were coming out for this month specifically, and just mention a couple of the artists. Coolio's got an album dropping.
Whoa, okay, R.I.P.
Joyner Lucas.
Okay, that's not going to be hard.
ASAP Rocky has an album.
Oh, haven't heard from
In
ASAP
a while.
in a minute.
Yeah, he's more fashion. We got to
Ferg's
see
been
what's
doing
going
the
on.
thing.
And
Shout out to Ferg.
your boy Quavo.
You know, Rocket Power.
Very curious to hear that
August
album and
18th.
what he has to say.
I've heard about 3 tracks already, and to me, they're all smoking hot, you know.
Yeah,
Like the
it's
Rocket.
good. It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good. I mean, yo, to be honest with you, these guys, they don't really miss. If you like that type of music and you stayed up to date from day one, you know, when it comes down to the album, they have a formula, bro, that, you know, it's just...
Well, I can't front. You definitely put me onto them.
Yeah.
And I gave them a better listen because of you. And I do enjoy their music a lot more because of that.
Yeah,
I can
for sure.
appreciate the lyricism in what they're doing too.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think when we talk, like I just mentioned pioneers and how you could see them all the way through, Migos set off a whole flow and approach to rapping that wasn't there before them really. So
Right on,
the
right
Migos
on.
flow, everybody knows because
Everybody.
they're pioneers in their own.
For sure.
And someone else I wanted to mention has an album coming out, West Side Gun.
Oh, that's gonna be dope.
Yeah.
Fan of that whole
so-
clique, man. You know that's gonna have a Conway Benny features.
Let's get it.
Yeah, for sure. So,
But Lil Hip Hop, you know, I don't know if it was within the discussion, but anybody want to throw in a top 5 or, you know, that they feel as in the category of, you know, greatest?
greatest? Well, I think with hip hop, it's kind of such a wide range to do that.
Yeah.
I think that, like, sure, you can do that, top 5, but I would say, like, maybe lyricists,
Right.
you know, top 5, like, song makers.
Or
But,
impact to the culture.
Impact would be a fun debate to have.
Right.
You could do a whole hour discussing.
Right. That's why I want to open up that can, just throw it out there, because, you know, that could be another 65 minutes.
Well, speaking of impact on the culture, why don't we roll into what we were gonna talk about, and part of that we'll give an idea for who's our top 5.
Pow.
You
Yes.
know.
I actually like last week during something, I got asked about who my favorite rappers are. So I had my top 5 favorites.
Ooh, let's get it.
But
Okay,
I
that's
think
a little
that's
bit
a
of an
little
easier
different.
list.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
You're not gonna have the controversy of like, oh, you think he's better than this dude? You think he's better than Cube? And
Right,
That's
right,
just my
for sure.
favorite ones to listen to my whole life. And so I named Nas, Big Pun, Q-Tip, Mos Def, and then on the 5th rung, I give KRS.
Ooh, okay.
And
Nice.
to be honest, a lot of that is digging through the crates in your room because you had the record players, and I used to dig through Vamanos, his crates to find different records,
They
throw them
know.
on, and I would just discover new hip hop that way while
sure.
you guys were out freestyling and shit. So just shout out to you guys too, because that's where I get my list of favorites from.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about hip hop is that the way it's passed around through, passed down generation to generation, and you get to see it evolve too. It's in a different
Right,
place
right.
right
No,
now
it is, for sure.
overall, but not necessarily, because you can see like by the concert this weekend how many greats are just doing their thing. So,
For sure.
I'm still cooking.
but back to what were we saying?
5
as,
favorite.
As far as 5 favorites, this is part of my 5 like lyrically anyway. But what I wanted to mention was that speaking on the this battle we're about to talk about, Crooked Eye said that if you were to cancel out color, race, whatever, and just take the best, you wanted the top 5 best lyrical rappers to be sitting at a table.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I'd be sitting at that table saying, "What's up to Marshall?"
That's dope as a concept, and
Word.
Crooked Eye is allowed to be that cocky because he is that nice lyrically.
Well, so that's what I was gonna say. I have Crooked in my top 5 lyrically. Crooked, M are both on my list. So those are top 5 dogs for me. And of course, I have Black Thought in there.
Okay. Okay, always good.
OG.
Get him. That's that shit.
I have a few. I forget who else I had on the other day. We put the list together.
yeah, we were. I remember
you ain't had
naming
on
somebody.
the,
I have
many vanilla.
I have Melle Mel and Vanilla Ice as my top
In the
2,
top.
ready to rock through. But anyway, you know what? Let's move this along and talk about this battle. A very interesting story that popped up recently.
Yes,
you want to
sir.
take the lead on that one?
Yeah, so this caught me by surprise, but speaking of pioneers and originators, Melle Mel dropped a diss track this week, but there was a whole build-up
Whoa.
to it. It was a response to something that Eminem said on a track, but Eminem was responding to Melle Mel talking some trash. So the origin of the beef between Eminem and pioneer Melle Mel is that in interviews, Melle Mel came out and he essentially said that Eminem's overrated, that if Eminem was black, that he would be kind of just any other rapper, essentially was what he was insinuating. And it was a little going extra, talking a bit of shit, and M decided to respond. And I think part of that is this is a track with a full verse, and M dedicates a lot of that verse to the Game, who's also been running his mouth about M and kind of doing a beef thing. So M just kind of took shots at the people that have recently been taking shots at him. But I think we have a little clip of what M had to say. Eminem hit Melle Mel with Eminem's, his style, which we all know he's lyrically a beast. He knows how to hit, and he has been in a lot of battles, and he's been very effective.
Word.
And so those 8 bars, I could see why Melle Mel was pissed. And I understand Melle Mel's decision to respond.
All right, I got it. I
Yeah.
got it. Ready? Here it is.
Okay, so let's...
Yeah.
So yeah, and if you see Melle Mel, he's brolic right now. So, the little asteroids wordplay is sick.
Okay, hey.
So Melle Mel decided to respond, and I do not want to take anything away from the legend. He is an incredible pioneer of the game, but the diss response was very much, it felt dated. It felt like out of the time machine and a lot closer to his era than what rap is today. And that's not to hate. He's good at what he does.
Let's play.
Okay.
Just a second.
in my mind.
So I just think it just felt dated. And then, so like with this beef, there's been reaction from everybody. And I just wanted to get your guys' take on what you've heard so far.
Listen, I love Melle Mel, and the dude is obviously the pioneer of this shit.
For sure.
But, you know, the whole coming at Marshall thing is silly.
Gotta be careful.
And
gotta be careful.
I did see a lot of the feedback on it as well. I mean, you can hear, obviously, to say that Marshall's only where he's at because he, you know, is white is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but aside from that, you know, toe to toe, that would never match up. Then, like I said, the one thing I liked about the response is that it still sounded old school, where it was like at least it was within, you know, his genre, his realm.
Yeah.
He didn't like try to just jump into doing M style, you
Or
know
double.
what I mean?
Yeah, he's not double timing.
Yeah,
trying to do anything crazy.
He kept it that way, but you know, M is on a whole nother level with this fucking thing. So
That's the hip hop evolution is kind of on display there. The way it changes and
It's
it goes
like-
in a different.
think of it
kept
like-
getting more.
think of it like
Tricked out.
MMA, right? You know, you can't put like a one style fighter from early MMA days against like a GSP.
Hoist Gracie would probably fight middleweight, so it's like Hoist Gracie fighting Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, you know, it's a tough fight.
Yeah, what you think,
But-
Boom?
Yo, towards the I mean, it was good, man. You know, I mean, I want to keep it. I don't.
Why you sound like that?
Yeah,
That inflection, it's good.
yeah, like you know what it is. I don't want to, because I understand the essence of being a pioneer, but I can also,
Do you?
yeah, I mean, I can understand. You know, I don't want to shit on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
But you know, like I stated earlier, you know, hip hop to me started around 94, 96. You feel me? So it was good. It's good, but it doesn't make me feel like, yeah, you got him. You know, it doesn't give me that.
Well, so this was the thing I was thinking, because in M's verse, he has this whole part where he's like, Gen Z doesn't mess with me. Like, I don't care. You're too young to matter. And to me, it almost feels like that might be what's in Melle Mel's mindset on this. Like, I use my style, and in my style, I'm kicking
best.
something dope. And so maybe it doesn't matter. But then to me, I feel like a lot of people hear it like that last clip I have up. If you go to the Twitter one and just hit play, I think it kind of, this is what I feel like people that have only discovered hip hop later, in the later stages, are probably hearing. No disrespect.
No disrespect. This is what I'm hearing. So this will make up.
I've heard multiple younger, like newer heads say this.
All right, let me hit play.
Hip hop. It started out in the park.
That's great.
Hip hop. You know how we do it. We get out on the block, start break dancing. We hanging out with our friends, shaking hands. We do the dance. Go to the ball and shoot some hoop. Okay.
You feel me? Yeah.
Oh man, shout out to this dude.
That's what I'm saying. I don't feel like he got
Whatever
him. You
show
know?
that is, shout out to
I
him.
wish I could find what his name was to shout him out directly, because that is hilarious. I get what he's getting at.
Yeah, you know, to a lot of newer folks, younger folks, old school hip hop does sound a lot like that. You know, it was a very rudimentary.
Can't battle someone with that type of flow
elementary.
nowadays. You know what I mean?
But I also think, like, I wonder if there's a whole bunch of like Gen Z kids that grew up on Juice WRLD that hear Eminem and are more like, to them, Eminem spitting fast and da is more like do to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
It's a generational thing, and the same way, like, I look at the Melle Mel verse is how a younger cat might look at the M's whole catalog, essentially. So I don't know. I just want to try to empathize with the younger cats too.
Yeah, it's something to think about. But as far as that battle goes, yeah, it's not a good idea to come at Eminem for a battle unless you're one of these top 10 dudes.
Probably not a good idea, even if you are a top 10.
Yeah, even if you are, you're
Gotta be
playing
careful,
risky
man.
business, but,
Sleeping
like,
John, he's not going for you. Don't go for him, man. Because shit like this happens.
For a long time, it's been people diss him, and then he comes back and absolutely wrecks
Speaking
MGK.
of that, Is Crooked Eye gonna battle Diz? Is that happening?
I think that got canceled. I'm not sure if that fell through. I do know that it might be this weekend or next weekend. They're throwing a huge event, like a new Battle of the Bay that Disaster and Lush 1 are behind.
Word.
And I really want to shout it out. The card is stacked. Thesaurus versus Hollow to Don. And these are like pioneers of the written battle rap era for the West Coast, or a lot of them. You've got some East Coast legends too. It's going to be a really dope event. They got a lot of people that I appreciate from the grind time era of battle rap especially.
Oh, wow. Thesaurus versus Hollow should be a lot of fun.
Sick. That's going to be great.
That's dope. All right. No doubt. Well,
yeah.
There you go. Shout out to the 50th anniversary of hip hop and all that.
You know it.
Oh, let me do that again. You want to come in and talk a little bit?
As we continue the battles of the people, we're going down to the tough streets of Alabama. As everybody knows, the viral sensation of the battle that took place on the Alabama boat dock was a sensation, from chairs being thrown, people being hit with chairs, people swimming. It was an altercation that we're going to talk about it for the next 10 years. So everybody knows how the altercation pretty much went. But let me just give you just a little bit of how it started, essentially, down in Alabama, where, so check it out, people. Though. So y'all know what happened last week. So it all began around 7 p.m. Saturday, when the Harriet II riverboat carrying 227 passengers returned to their waterfront and tried to dock in its designated area, where they found a private boat there parked. And as you can see, there is where it starts with co-captain Damian Pickett advising the private party to, hey, if they can move their boat, move it down a little bit, try to work something out with them. And then he gets attacked by 3 white assailants. And as you know, it goes crazy from there. You got a waterfront crew coming over to help my man. You got other white people getting involved that shouldn't have. And there's an all-out brawl to flip chairs. Was it bifold chairs? People getting hit. People getting kicked. Dogs being kicked. It was an altercation, all-time high, man. How you feel about that altercation, Remy?
It's a crazy video to watch unfold. Shout out to everybody that showed up to that man's defense, because he was getting jumped.
Yes.
And in the papers, it's in the court documents, it says that those dudes were yelling racial slurs. They were doing some craziness. So it's nice to see people that are acting racist as hell get the shit kicked out of them. I have no sympathy for it.
No sympathy at all.
None.
You know what I'm saying? You were dead wrong. This is white privilege completely failing in 2023. You know what I'm saying? Wrong is wrong. Right is right. They should have never put hands on my man. Shout out to the Riverfront crew member that swam across to help. Shout out to the other black folks that got involved. Shout out to everyone who recorded it. You know what I'm saying? Because this shit is epic. Shout out to the bifold chair gentleman who beat the shit out of my man with it.
Dude came out like WWE, like La Parka.
Shout out to Damian Pickett. Damian Pickett is the actual gentleman, the co-captain that you see him starting off. You know, my man with the white shirt. He's the one that essentially got into the altercation with the gentleman. As you knew, when that hat went up in the air, the way he threw it, that was a sign for everybody to attack. Shout out to all the black people that worked together as a well group. You know what I'm saying? I felt like Sparta 300. You know what I'm saying? Type the way they circled those white folks, man. It was epic. Shout out to them being the chick that came down with her dog. Why would you put a dog in harm's way? Shout out to them beating her up, but making sure that the dog was all right. Shout out to that type of element of the ass whipping. Yeah, and yo, shout out to all my black people, man. I love it. It's wonderful to see y'all work together in these type of altercations, man. It's great. They say divided we fall, together we better. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I did. I think
that's a bonus to it.
I did think that's crazy because you know, somebody spliced together. First of all, that incident has the best memes on the internet right now.
The best right now.
Hilarious.
They're hilarious and they're everywhere. But somebody did one which was like the end of the Avengers movies, where they all come out and
The
save
circle,
like
those strange Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange circles, and the whole army comes out. They did that with all the dudes coming out.
Yeah, yo,
And,
yeah, hell yeah, that's how you do
But
it.
yo,
The swimming dude, I
yeah.
seen them turn him into like Aquaman too. That was
it is
fantastic.
it is pretty funny though. Like, no, maybe it's not funny. Let's take away the funny part for a second. It's fucked up that those people have the nerve to behave like that, and people still in this day and age are just behave in a racist manner.
Yeah.
I just have no respect for racist people.
Right on.
But you know, I don't want to see anybody getting hurt in the community at all.
Right on.
Anybody, any human beings. However, for people who are gonna, persist to behave in this manner aggressively towards other people in the community, it is a nice thing to see the support come from everyone else around and back
Word.
that person up. Because oftentimes, everyone else is scared to get involved.
Exactly.
Scared of what's going to happen to them.
Right on.
Scared of what the aftermath with the police situation is going to be like. There's so many things to be concerned with about yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
In your life.
And right now, just for record showing, the only people that have been officially or have been arrested are 4 white people, 3 white males and 1 Caucasian lady. So no black people have been arrested in this situation.
That's because it's very clear. There's no argument here that they were the aggressors.
Exactly.
They were in the wrong. They tried to jump this dude, and the community formed around them and protected one of their own. They showed up and took care of business, man.
Like, how far you think you were gonna get by yelling "grab that N-word"? Like, you thought that's just gonna slide through black people in that area? Are you crazy, man?
Look, man, just slinging around racist remarks at people.
Yeah.
It's just
Be careful out there.
just shut
Alabama.
the fuck up and leave people alone. Everybody's a human being.
careful.
And don't expect to not have somebody hit you back if you hit them. Don't expect people to not get involved if you're trying to jump somebody. Don't expect other people not to help that person.
Yeah, and then
People shouldn't have that level of comfort.
And the other
acting
thing
out like
is,
that.
See
you know,
what happens when you do.
don't-
Get your ass whooped.
do not attack someone and then play the victim card
Oh, it's not happening.
Yep.
when it doesn't work out in your favor.
Yeah,
you're
for
not
sure.
the victim at that point. You fucked up. So there's that.
Pow. And your ass whooped.
Teachable moment.
Let's take a 30-second break right there.
30.
All right, pause for the chord. I just gotta take a piss.
Got you. Yeah, actually,
All right. We're coming right back at you. Here we go. All right, so jumping back in, I wanted to talk about this UFO hearing that just went down in the news with David Grush was the whistleblower. It's been out for a little bit, so I'm not going to go heavy into the story. But
Right
what I
on.
wanted to cover about the story, the aspect of it that I wanted to cover was that I watched the guy's testimony, and I know a lot of people are super enthusiastic about it, and in theory, like, if all the stuff he's saying is true, then yes, that's fantastic and amazing. But it was a fucking dud to me. The hearing, it was all 99% of it
Recycled.
He didn't see any of it. He didn't deal with any of this stuff directly. It was all the other witnesses, and it just it was all secondhand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I guess for me, because I follow the UFO stuff heavy, there was nothing new. There was nothing new on the table that I haven't heard 100 goddamn times following the UFO stuff. So for me, the UFO hearing, the entire thing was a damn dud. Even though there's a big fuss about it, and I know people will get pissed off at me for saying that.
Right.
I wasn't.
So yeah,
I wasn't blown away by
as
it.
an enthusiast for the story. I mean, you could go to our episode 88, and I covered when the newspapers were writing about it, and we were seeing it in some of the websites and news articles. And there was more detail there. There were more stories, and there were more named sources in those articles than we got at the hearings, where it was mainly focused on this one guy who heard from people and what he was able to offer up to the committee wasn't anything new. He was able to say, I have a list of names that I'll give to you, but I'm not gonna say them publicly. You know what I mean? A
I'll
lot
give
of
it to you in the skiff.
it's all classified. And
That's a fizzy.
so, you know, like UFOs are a fun topic to me. They're interesting. I think it's fun to spin the wheels on them. But at the same time, I don't think this was any smoking gun like it was being treated like. I just feel like the one thing it did do was take some of the existing stories that we always find interesting and have fun with. It got them out to a bit of a broader audience so that when we talk about some of the wild shit that we've seen or some of the crazy stories we've heard, they're kind of like, oh yeah, I have heard that before now. But that's about it. That's all we got out of it.
I just, I don't know, I'm going to sound like really impressed with myself, but I'm just so like happy when I think about how long we've been excited about UFOs, and then to see where it's in now, where it's like actually getting a hearing.
Right on.
I'm sorry that was a fucking dud of a hearing, but I was happy to see that we actually got a hearing.
Yeah.
That loudly covered.
Picture spending years covering Bigfoot, and now Bigfoot finally gets a congressional hearing. That's what I feel like as the UFO
Come on,
guys.
man.
It's, you know, it's something so crazy, but it kind of feels more and more like, hey, maybe.
And just to add a little bit to the puzzle, you know, in the local area, you know, shout out to Lodi in our cul-de-sac, we've been doing extensive training, getting ready for any type of invasions. You know, we talked about it last time, but now the beaver porcupine, my people in the cul-de-sac, if they attack the cul-de-sac and Lodi, that's going to be a goddamn problem. But either which way,
you ready?
We ready. We ready to go. We're going to keep you up to date, man. Damn it that we couldn't get more info, but either which way, bro, cul-de-sac and Lodi, we ready. I'm going to tell you which one. The one jhanboom is in, it looks different when you pull up. So just no way. If you feel a little weird, you know you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah, so just to piggyback a little bit off of the UFO story, I just wanted to talk about my man Ken Klippenstein and his story that he wrote about the whistleblower David Grush.
Let's get it.
And you know, this was a little weird one, right? So first of all, initially he wrote this story. He talked about the guy's mental health. He had problems with alcohol. He was he went to a mental health facility. He threatened suicide at one point. His wife was, you know, complaining about it. It was like a lot of personal stuff from the guy's past. And it felt a little bit like, oh, like, why are you putting this guy's stuff out there like that, right? It felt a little gross on its face. But the accusation was that he got this information in a shady way and blah, blah, blah. And then he came out and was saying, you know, he got it through a regular FOIA, right? Freedom of Information Act request, right? So, but anyway, I just wanted to say that. So he's defended that off and kind of went with that angle of it and blew that off. But it was kind of gross, the whole story around in of itself.
Yeah.
I just didn't, I don't know. It didn't sit well with me. And it was the first time I looked at Ken. Weird. I usually see his posts and his stories and I'm excited.
I get a chuckle out of him at
and
worst.
Now,
when he trolls
ever
people.
Since I read that story from him, every time I've seen him post since then, I've kind of like, I don't know. That kind of rubbed me like, ugh.
So for me, yeah, I think the problem I have with how it was broached was instead of people, I got why people were annoyed at what he did because it seemed like a character assassination on this guy without a lot of focus on like the current and the present, where he is now, where he's come from. It just I didn't feel like that context was strong enough to do this type of character assassination. So it felt to me like he was capitalizing on a name that's in the news right now, that's all over the internet, and now it's hitting the algorithms, and he was able to get something off, fire off some shots, and build controversy, and it worked out for him. You know, it was a good business plan. But to me, I didn't see anything really too focused on refuting the hearing. It was more about this guy's personal life, which I didn't like. But what people did was, he got it in a shady way. No, he did what he always does. He did a Freedom of Information Act request. He got his information properly. This guy's a journalist. And then there were even people trying to dox the guy. And it's like, this is messed up. Regardless, I didn't like the reporting he did, but there was no reason for people to go to those extremes.
Yeah, like that
if
was
you
the
want to
thing,
debate
is
with
like,
him over what he's reporting, that's one thing.
The guy didn't do anything wrong. You know, it was just a D-bag story.
Bit of a douchey story.
It was a douchey story. I guess for me personally, being a fan of his, it caught me the wrong way, and I was just like,
better,
ooh. Yeah, I guess
so. And then people kind of made it almost like gave him a justification for acting that way when they come back at him
with the
that
silly
sort of
shit
behavior.
Yeah, and with that behavior too, then they make him like have the high horse.
And it's like, then the shit post becomes.
But to that, you're correct to say that he's a journalist and he does his shit the right way. I mean, I really enjoyed the guy's reporting on 99% of everything else. So that's why I was a fan, and that's why this one kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But anyway, there goes that UFO story.
There it is.
One sidebar to that was Klippenstein doing like kind of joking and trolling, did something saying that he was fired from The Intercept over this, and one of the news stations jumped on it and reported it as if it was a true story, and he was just kidding around, like shit posting on Twitter. So I just think that's a funny sidebar of that. Like, some people really do have major issues with him.
Yeah, seriously.
Pat.
All right, let's move on.
So I like to throw in some of the informative and political topics.
Let's
so
fucking
I
go.
decided to tackle today something I saw last week that got a lot of attention was Trump and Biden polling against each other.
Okay.
We're so far out from the election that I think that is annoying, like horse race BS. It's going to be around 50-50 for the next year. And right up until the election, it's going to be pretty close with certain margins, and it's going to be one of those things. We don't need all these hypothetical stuff. The primaries aren't even over. So I kind of find that annoying. What I like to look at when I'm looking for what direction the country's going electorally is the results of actual elections that are happening, which is what I wanted to focus on here. So I pulled a story called Democrats Are Overperforming in 2023 Special Elections. Is it a clue for Biden versus Trump? By Cal Axelrod, abcnews.com. Let's see. Here we go. An analysis from 538 found that in 38 special elections held so far this year, Democrats have outperformed the partisan lean or the relative liberal or conservative history of the areas where the races were held by an average of 10%, both romping in parts of the country that typically support the party while cutting down on GOP margins in red cities and counties too. For instance, the Democratic candidate in Wisconsin State Assembly special election last month lost by just 7 points, in an area where Republicans have a 22-point edge and where Trump beat Biden by almost 17 points in 2020. In a New Hampshire special election in May for a state house seat, the Democrat won by 43 points, far beyond the party's estimated 23-point edge in the district. So these are massive margin shifts in all of these areas, whether they're red or blue. We're seeing the Democrats close the gap where they're losing, and we're seeing them widen the margins where they're winning
in
special
elections,
which is definitely the caveat. These are special elections. They're not like the 2-year election cycle elections. They're smaller turnout, but they're where people who are enthusiastic turn out the most. You need an enthusiastic base to turn out for a special election, and that's why I think it's a very good sign for Democrats.
Yeah,
to start.
for sure.
And I'll throw it to you, let you kind of speak on it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I just first of all, getting back to what you were saying about the polling being so early out from the election, and you got to deal with all these polls, and if you're not careful and you're tied to this stuff, sometimes people are so tied into their candidate or their party that every time they shift up or down in the poll, so does their heart rate, Yeah. So you got to be careful, especially with the shit so far off in the election. There's absolutely no reason why our presidential elections need to be 2 goddamn years long, and we need to hear about it forever,
Yeah.
So there's that. But the thing, back to the margin gap, I think the key to this story is really the second half of that story, which is what some of the reasoning is, or the theories behind the reasoning is of that, which I think you're going to get into in a few minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
But so not to blow that spot up, that's a good thing overall. But I'm still conflicted with with the races overall in general, just because, you know, I'm disappointed on one hand with certain aspects of how things are going, you know, with my elected officials and with the president and blah, blah, blah. So it takes away I'm not enthusiastic about getting out to vote. I'm definitely not enthusiastic about Biden versus Trump again. Ugh. Come on. On all around. Mm-hmm. You know, and then I'm not enthusiastic about the alternatives. So it sucks to be in that spot, you know?
I feel you.
But at the same time, I also feel way more at risk for allowing, after watching the behavior and the laws that are being pushed through by the Republican Party over the past, you know, however long since they've taken, you know, had control of anything.
Yeah.
I don't want to risk any of that, so I'm gonna end up voting against that.
And I think this is why
sucks for me.
This is why I think the material value of actual votes in actual elections is so important, because I feel that lack of enthusiasm towards the Democrats as a whole and their efforts. Every time they wheel out Dianne Feinstein, I'm like, this is kind of scary. Why are they doing this to this poor woman?
The Crypt Keeper.
More examples of this, you know, like, it's crazy what the party's doing, but at the same time, it's not just I get to say I like them or I don't like them. I get to say, do I prefer the Republicans or the Democrats? And whenever I see what the Republicans are doing, personally, I immediately feel like, ugh, and go to the Democrat side and wind up, I'll vote for them. I'll hold my nose and vote for them if I have to. But at least it's the lesser of two evils, which is just what you got to do electorally speaking. And I think that's what we see. So when it's like Trump versus Biden, hypothetically speaking, Republicans versus Dems, hypothetical, you get to just do an imaginary thing. There's no actual effect to that. But when you get in a voting booth, there's something that could really happen to your community when you vote for somebody, what they're saying, what their character is, and I think that's what you see when these gaps start happening, these margins.
And real quick, on the next election that's coming up, you know who's going to be in the booth? Jhanboom is going to be in that booth voting, because I'm an American citizen, bitch.
First time, yes. I'm
going to be all up in them booths.
I want to go and snap some, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, they might think we're trying to spy on the, you know, one of those.
Well, as long as we're recording from the public sidewalk, we can record as much as we want.
We'll record. Yeah, I'll record you walking in and coming out. But yeah, what's it called? Man. So you did mention reasons. What are some of the reasons? And I did want to get into what the article suggests, and then I wanted to get into another reason. So the main reason here, conversations with 8 Democratic and Republican operatives in swing states show some repeated explanations for this success. The public's general support for abortion access after the Supreme Court reversed the national guarantee for the procedure last year, along with angst and anger over Trump's comeback bid. Given how divisive he remains, 2 factors which might even overcompensate for Biden's sagging approval ratings, which is what I'm getting at. Biden's approval ratings are whack. The Democrats don't really have that much sentiment behind them, but people are really like, stop letting these assholes do this stuff, and that's the people that are showing up and voting. So that's one side of it. But I also think that all of these electoral operatives and these strategists tend to sometimes miss the forest for the trees at times. And I did want to mention that there's one thing that Chuck Todd, of all people, covered that might also play into it. Let's see. Higher COVID death rates among Trump voters revealed in new study could impact turnout in 2024, Chuck Todd predicts. This is from an article on Mediaite by Jennifer Bowers-Barney. She plays a clip from Chuck Todd breaking down the numbers. And here's where some of these margins, even in red areas, might be accounted for. This is directly from Chuck Todd speaking, so if you want, go to that site, look her up. You can find him speaking. It's going to be read better than I do, but here we go. Researchers at Yale examined 538,000 deaths in people 25 and older in Florida and Ohio from April 2020 to December 2021, and they found that the excess death rate, deaths that go beyond what was normally found than what was normally expected, was 15% higher for Republicans than for Democrats. After the vaccine became available in 2021 to a majority of the population, the death rate among Republicans was 43% higher. These numbers could actually matter in the 2024 election. Remember, here are the three closest states. Arizona decided by just over 10,000 votes. Georgia, just under 12,000 votes. Wisconsin, just over 20,000 votes. And the COVID post-vaccine status in these three states look very similar to what the Journal of American Medical Association found. That's JAMA for short. In the Trump counties, 35% higher than the Biden counties in Arizona. Same story in Georgia, 50% to 41%. Same story in Wisconsin, 30% to 25%. In a close election, a lot of factors can impact the outcome. Everything from weather to long lines at polling places. And this data suggests a correlation that could impact turnout in 2024. So the anti-vax stuff got a lot more Republicans, unfortunately, to die than Democrats. And I think that actually will show up in electoral results. I do. Okay. Because 10% margins, or these margins, 43% more in some places, that's crazy.
That's kind of the question, though, right?
Yeah.
Are they like? Is there? I know that the rates connect, right, between there's similar drops in percentage between the deaths and relating to the voting margin, but can we say that that's the reason?
We can say there's a correlation, not a direct causation, but I think it's an obvious variable in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I'm
how
just saying,
much of a variable it is
it possible?
Is up for debate.
Is it possible that many people saw, maybe feel like how I felt, where they saw these Republican laws being passed and were like, no.
That also, I think that's also a factor. But I don't think
the combination.
I think it's all these factors are playing in. But I do think that it's one of those ones that people don't want to discuss about because it's uncomfortable to discuss deaths as having an impact on a election. But the reality of it is, their officials went out and told them and scaremongered and fearmongered using public health as a wedge issue, as a social issue, instead of being real about what the knowledge was on the topic. And a lot more of them died, and that's having consequences in elections. And I think that's worth a discussion. Yeah. Especially if they want to argue against any of the other factors that also play a role.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely worth the discussion.
Social Security is on the line. Somebody got to make it right.
So, real quick, I wanted to just mention this. Here are the 5 oldest members and ages of Congress. Dianne Feinstein, 89.
Whoa.
Chuck Grassley, 89. Grace Napolitano, 86. Bill Pascal, 85. And Eleanor Holmes Norton, 85. Those are the 5 oldest. I mean, 289, 89, 80. Most people don't make it this old, and America's average life expectancy today isn't this old.
Yeah.
Just to put that out there. So 89, if I'm just mentioning this because we've all seen Dianne Feinstein get wheeled out like the goddamn Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, it's really sad.
It's very sad and unfortunate that this is allowed to continue.
Who's my man that froze up?
Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell's another one.
Come on, man.
And he's up there. He's old too. But
and also, what ages are our presidential candidates? Are most likely they're also up there in age. Like, we need new blood.
They're pushing in the 85 range.
Yeah,
any day now.
But just to show you the contrast, here are the 5 youngest members of Congress and their ages: Maxwell Frost, 26; AOC, 33.
Let's get it.
Anna Paulina Luna, 33. Greg Cesar, 33, and Sarah Jacobs, 33.
Let's get it.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
50-year gap. Plus.
But let me tell you what the difference is in those 2 name groups. The second 5 names have way less power than the first 5 names.
The elders.
And those people are all half out of their goddamn mind or dysfunctional.
Yeah, Dianne Feinstein confusing people, asking, what am I supposed to vote on this? Having to have aides tell her how to vote. That's not how it should be. Meanwhile, these lucid young people who actually have to deal with the consequences of the decisions that get made in that house.
Who are going to have to be alive in the next 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years from now, they'll deal with the consequences of dumb decisions made by these people over petty reasons or donations.
Yeah, AOC got a fat ass.
All right, Johnny, let's move this right along. I think you got something, a hot button issue.
Yeah, it's happening out there, man.
Crazy.
You know, keeping it in the same presidential topic, but we're going to leave the United States and we're going to go over to the tough streets of Quito, Ecuador. Now, this is what happened. This article is straight from CNN, you know what I'm saying? So it's been verified and strategized, all right? So let me just get involved in it. So earlier this week, Fernando Villavicencio, an anti-corruption campaigner and lawmaker who was outspoken about the violence caused by drug trafficking in the country, was shot dead at a campaign rally. And they got that shit on tape as well. God damn. Not
sad.
the actual death, but definitely the actual issue.
That was a crazy video.
Crazy. Okay, so was shot dead at the campaign rally in the capital of Quito on Wednesday. The killing of the 59-year-old came 10 days before the first round of the presidential election was set to take place. Villavicencio's campaign had promised a crackdown on crime and corruption amid a deadly escalation of violence that has gripped Ecuador for the last couple years. Shit's going down out there. Now, the suspected shooter died in police custody following an exchange of fire with security personnel, Ecuador's Attorney General's office said Wednesday, but they did catch a couple motherfuckers out there.
Hey.
6 others were arrested in connection with the killing. Ecuador's Interior Minister Juan Zapata said in a news conference Thursday that suspects and members of the organization... let's bring that back a little bit. The suspects are members of our organized criminal groups. God damn, these motherfuckers. I'm sorry, this story is crazy as hell, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the video is even crazier, though. They got the whole assassination on.
You know what I'm saying? So right now, they currently have a raid. They are on a state of emergency, Ecuador. And, you know, they're trying to find the rest of the motherfuckers. And the six personnel that are arrested in connection with this are all Colombian nationals. So, you know what I'm saying? The streets is talking, man. The corruption and the issues didn't die with Pablo Escobar. It's still going a little bit more underground. But if you're going to go against the streets are going to fight back.
Yeah, we're gonna find out that the U.S. sanctioned this hit.
During this guy's journalism career, he was a journalist prior, taking this stuff on, including the drug trafficking trade. And I'm pretty sure he had mentioned the Sonoma cartel was making threats.
Well, no, he did come out and say that. I didn't follow the story much, but I did see that they basically threatened him and said, if you don't stop talking about us, we're gonna take you out. And
that's exactly what happened. They advised him to put a vest on. He didn't want to put it on. He said the people will protect him, but unfortunately, fucking bullets don't protect you, man. And from my perspective on this situation, right, it's like, you know, why would jhanboom talk about this? Because it's like, it's sad because Ecuador lost a great leader that cared about the streets, cared about them. But then it's also like kind of exciting and crazy that this is still happening. This thing is still happening. This type of corruption, this type of control that, you know, allegedly the cartel has, the gangs has, the streets has. So it's still out there happening. Might not be happening here, but out there they definitely got big commotion going on.
Yeah, I mean, this is wild. The guy is a candidate.
Yeah,
and he's going around campaigning, which we have going on.
Right on.
And someone ran up to him from the crowd and opened fire.
Pow, pow.
So, you know, this is a scary situation. And
right on.
You know,
that's going to happen. I don't think there's any way to fully protect somebody in any era. You know what I mean? Even now we have so many new measures and somebody can still sneak something through and find a way to get to somebody. So you have to be very cautious.
If you're going to be in public, like,
yeah,
you know, that's why I also think that for a lot of these politicians, there's a massive risk. I mean, just look at when we saw Bernie. How many people were in that fucking park?
Right,
and
right.
You're like right there, the guy standing there, you know, like.
And we just came off the train. You know, we took the train up. stroll through.
And you can't have security everywhere because, you know, this is me, and those thoughts came into my mind as well when I was reading this article. Then being there at that Bernie rally with the amount of people, the people protesting on the bridge, having the Trump signs down. What could stop a crazy motherfucker? We've seen it. We've seen the Manchurian Candidate. You know what I'm saying? Or if you haven't seen it, pull that motherfucker off. Denzel's in it. What would stop someone? Let's say hypothetically, right? Movie scene type. This is allegedly is not real. It's fictional. It's just John Brito's mind on some sativa. A car stops on that bridge, pulls out a sniper rifle, and pow.
Yeah, well, so
I mean, they're gonna get caught, but at the end of the day, you can't stop all type of measures unless you got helicopters and you know what I'm saying, the bridge locked out. You know what I'm saying?
To a certain extent, there's a certain level of protection, but right now, like this early, they don't even have Secret Service protection. Most of those guys.
Right. So it's always a chance.
It's you know, without personal security, you know, I just think it's a massive risk that they have to take if they want to be that person on the ground meeting and greeting the people. Thank God that that's not something that happens all the time, and it's a fucking rare fucking relatively rare. But it is wild to watch it go down and just see how just accessible these people are, unfortunately.
No matter what. And they were, and the security, not to cut you off, they were just chest to chest with him all the way till he got into the car, man, and still.
Yeah, and still went down. Yeah, that's what I was saying. They walked him out, holding him and around him, and it didn't matter.
Nah.
Yeah, that's how it's a scary thing. But
and if I'm not mistaken, they got him after he sat in the car.
Yes, and still when he got in, that's when the ray of bullets started flying.
Waited for the opening.
Yeah, they even said in the report that I didn't read that one of them threw a grenade, but he forgot to take the pin off and it didn't go off.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
That's in the story.
I did not know that.
Whoa.
Part. But yeah, you know, again, people will try to find a way. I mean, even January 6th, that whole thing about the guns waiting on across the water, that's a crazy part of the story that doesn't get enough attention, I don't think. But there were people ready to run guns over if necessary.
Yeah, and you know, the thing I wanted to say about that was like, you know, you could even see from the Capitol riots, right, that things get out of hand when mobs of people are together that are not easily, you know, when order is lost, is not easily put back together, is not easily gained again.
Yeah.
Control is not easily gained again. So, you know, it's just, I know that for a lot of people, you have to understand that when we go to places, even when we're chilling and hanging out and we're in these large areas, the clubs, even wherever, we have this like illusion of security that we're all safe at that moment, that nothing could go wrong because they had security and they checked it, man. And it's an illusion because at any point when shit goes down, it becomes a mess.
It could go either way, man. It could go either way.
I remember leaving a bar one time. We were watching football. It was like a Sunday football, super relaxed. I went home. I'm on the phone. I look back, and it turns out not too long after I left the bar, there was a huge brawl, and there was video footage of everybody just throwing bottles all around. Anybody could have got hit in the head with that ish, bro.
I wasn't there, but I remember.
Yeah, I don't want to name drop the location because I actually like those guys, but it was a crazy thing, and I just missed potentially being in the head with a bottle or something, having to duck and cover, bob and weave.
I mean, yo, you were there during that altercation when I was working in Patterson. Then I had to score you in Roman out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yo, big ass fucking brawl broke out.
But the point is that, like, you know, the bigger the group, especially like these political rallies and events, there's only so much control that they can have.
Yeah,
and
right on.
Thankfully, it doesn't happen, like I said, often. But if everyone in that arena is spooked by some crazy thing at the same time and panics at the same time,
chaos,
it's a bad situation.
No, for sure.
And you know, that's why these people are at risk. So there's a sort of courage it takes when you see Bernie walking out there on picket lines with these people and mingling up with the public. You know,
I fuck with
any of these people,
especially the ones that get so many death threats. Like AOC talks about it, and, you know, Ilhan Omar, for instance, they get a lot of messed up threats and stuff.
I didn't even take that into account, especially the ones that are getting regular death threats, and that's probably all of the popular ones.
Yep,
Right,
and
right.
there's still and on both sides in this case.
On
I think
both
they all
sides.
get a lot of that, and they still step outside and go, visit the public. So respect to everybody that puts their, that does that goes for it. But also, I just wanted to throw in a weird thing about this one. I have seen this guy called Left and Right Wing in different American sources of reporting. I never followed before.
Right.
Seeing what he represented without context to it, I do think he sounds like a great candidate. He was investigative reporter, called out corruption, was imprisoned for his reporting and still stuck to it, or was threatened with prison, I'm not sure. And also his vice presidential candidate, his vice president was going to be an environmentalist. So all of that sounds very good to me as a person, just to my ideals. But I do not know too much context about him. And I just thought it was interesting that different sides all tried to claim him very quickly. And I don't know who's right in that case. I just, I'll wait to hear from like a Democracy Now! Or a better source of information.
Unfortunately, rest in peace to that.
But rest in peace, regardless.
Yes, sir.
But all right, well, I think we're hitting our time right there. So let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
Pow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, thank you so much. I hope you've hit the subscribe button by this point.
Subscribe.
And happy hip hop 50th anniversary, of
Sabado.
course.
Yep.
Shout out to all my people, and signing off for me.
Yo, we good, man. Yo, shout out to everyone once again. Your boy jhanboom back in the building with the best team in the league. You feel me? Subscribe, like, send news, all the good stuff, man. For sure.
Yeah, and if you want to see me talking basketball, I did a Twitter Spaces interview called Bully Ball, so you can look that up. It's by I-95 Bully on Twitter, so that was a different thing. But yeah, shout out to the Knicks fans that all know me as well. And, thank you for listening to us on TFP. Shout out to the fans' perspective. Thank you, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
You're listening to TFP, the fans' perspective.
There it is.
You're listening to TFP, the fans' perspective.